Felix and Josh have been invited by LIFT, the London International Festival of Theatre, and Ideas Tap to create an audio piece at the Victoria and Albert Museum.
We've now completed the first 2 weeks of our residency at the Victoria and Albert Museum. We've been welcomed into the museum, made our home in the Sackler Centre, and explored deep into the collections using Blythe House and the reading rooms. Together with writer Tom McMullen, we have designed an audio experience which weaves together the myths of the underworld. Our aim is to produce a piece to augment the rich architecture and collection of the Victoria and Albert Museum, but also imply a surreal world which runs alongside and beneath it.
In the first week of our residency, last week, we concentrated on researching. We met Anna Landreth-Strong and Jeff Marsh from the Theatre and Performance Department and shared our task with them. This led to flurries of exploration around the museum, taking in mosaics and friezes and David Bowie. We then met Kathy from Blythe House, and she welcomed us with fruit tea and mountainous archives, allowing us to peer at objects and artefacts which are rarely seen by the public. From puppets of Odysseus to rails upon rails of costume. Our first week took a sharp detour when we upped sticks and went to the Venice Biennale. The contrast between the cabinet of curiosities of the museum and the modernist avant-garde Biennale was sharp. We still found a lot to inspire us, though. The survey history of the Biennale acted out in tableaus by the Romanian Pavilion, the Sacred Fallen Tree of the Belgian Pavilion, the PG Tips and the Steel Bands.
We were particularly inspired by two pieces. Vladimir Zakharov, Danae, a series of 5 images constructed by actors around the myth of Danae, a woman who was imprisoned by her father when an oracle told him that she would give birth to his murderer. The other piece by Camille Heroux, Gross Fatigue, mashed together creation myths with a rhythmic narration to montage what looked like computer files and pieces of film from her time in residence at the Smithsonian Museum.
This week, working with Tom and actors, we have selected one story to concentrate on and experiment with, the story of Cupid and Psyche. A Roman melodrama similar to the stories of Danae, although this time Psyche is prophesied to give birth to a dragon. Her father condemns her to die off a ledge, but she is saved by Cupid and the wind and transported to a rich palace. Waited on by invisible servants, she falls in love with a man she never sees, but eventually, out of desire to expose his identity, she is cast out and has to undertake Herculean tasks. Finally, she redeems herself, and they marry. We want to chart the intersections between these myths and others and physically map these stories onto each other.